What is going on, college sports fans? Welcome back to another video. Today I forgot my updated bracketology. This is where I pretty much just make my own bracket based on where I think teams are if the season ended today, and I update this every single Monday. So a new video on a bracketology every single Monday, along with a bunch of other college sports content here on the channel as well. So make sure you guys subscribe. We're getting really close to 1,000, and yeah, without further ado, let's get right into this bracketology. Alright guys, so this is our first region here, our West region. I do have Gonzaga as the first number one seed, so the top overall seed for me is Gonzaga. Now, it was Auburn for me last week, but they did take a loss to Florida, and we'll talk about that more when we get to them. But I did finally put Gonzaga as my top overall seed, so they are my first one. As my first 16 here, I do have Cal State Long Beach University or Princeton University, whichever one were to win that last four in game. And I did replace Princeton with I did replace Yale with Princeton. In my opinion, Princeton is definitely the top team in the Ivy League right now. At an 8 seed, I do have Oregon. They had a close one there with Arizona the other day. I do think an 8 seed may be a little bit high for them. They're a fringe 8 to 9 seed in there somewhere. For me right now, at a 9 seed, I do have, they were one of my last, my first four out last week, so they weren't in my tournament, but I do have Wake Forest. They had a really good week, man. They had a close one against Duke and Cameron, and then they picked up another dub as well, so definitely Wake Forest right now for me. One of, not many ACC teams are getting in the tournament for me, but Wake Forest, they cracked in right here at a 9 seed for me this week. At my 5 seed for this region, I do have the UConn Huskies, and they had a really good week. They got 2 Big East wins. They're playing very good basketball right now, and they jump up a seed from me from last week. I think last week I had them as a 6 seed. This week I have them as a 5. At our 12 seed, I do have North Texas, and I would not want to play them in a 5-12 matchup. I do think UConn probably not the best matchup for North Texas. I think UConn would probably beat them, but North Texas is a very good 12 seed and definitely one to look out for on those 12-5 upsets if they do end up getting the 12 seed in the actual bracket. At our 4 seed, we do have Illinois. They took a loss in the RAC to Rutgers, and then they went back home and picked up a dub, I think, against Michigan State. So I kept them as a 4 seed, but they are in a very tough region as a 4 seed, but I did keep them there. So no movement for Illinois this week, and they will be facing South Dakota State as a 13 seed. So at our 6 seed, we do have Murray State, and I have them moving up again because teams in front of them just keep losing. And I'm not sure if Murray State will actually get this high of a seed, but they are this good of a team. Like, I think that they deserve the 6 seed more than anyone below them. Like, I was looking at the 7 seeds, like Marquette. I had Marquette as a 6 seed last week, but then they took 2 losses in Big East Conference. I was like, you know what? Murray State deserves it way more than Marquette right now. So I definitely moved up Murray State. I think they deserve this 6 seed, so I have them here as a 6 seed versus Miami, who is moving down a little bit. I think they just moved down 1 seed. I think I had them as a 10 last week, but they got to be careful, man. They're on the bubble. They're close to the bubble for me, man. So Miami got to play a little bit better here. I think they lost to Virginia this week. So Virginia, they have a couple good wins. They have a win in Cameron. They have another game against Duke in Charlottesville coming up. So maybe UVA can maybe crack their case into one of these bubble teams. But Miami's there for now. At our 3 seed, we do have Wisconsin, and they had a really good week this week. They beat, who'd they play? They beat Indiana and Michigan whenever that fight went down between Juwan Howard and Greg Gard. They did get 2 wins this week, so they are staying as a 3 seed for me, or they might have been a 4 seed for me last week, but either way, they're staying as a high seed for me, and they will be playing a very, very tough Chattanooga team. And Chattanooga is definitely a team who could maybe move up to a 13 or a 12 seed here in the future. They are looking like a very solid team. At number 7, I kind of talked about earlier, they moved down from a 6 to a 7 seed. They had 2 Big East losses this week, so a tough week for Marquette. and Shaka Smart there. I do think that they are a pretty good team, though, so they could definitely bounce back from this and move back up. As our 10 seed in this region, I do have Boise State, and Boise State, they're staying at a 10 seed. They were a 10 seed last week as well. I think they picked up a win and a loss to Colorado State, and Colorado State is still a good team, though. We will talk about them later. Texas Tech as our 2 seed, they are jumping up from a 3 seed to a 2 seed because the Red Raiders had a very good week, maybe the best week in all of college basketball, because they beat Baylor and Texas this week. So 2-0 week against 2 ranked teams, one of them being top 10. So Texas Tech, really good week, moving up to a 2 seed for me, and that is a very tough 2 seed, and the 15 seed they will be facing is Liberty. So moving on to our next region, we do have the Midwest region, and my second number 1 seed is Arizona, actually. So I had Auburn as my number 1 overall seed, and now they're not even the number 2 1 seed for me. It is Arizona, and at the 16 seed I do have Towson. Not much to say about them. Number 8 seed, I do have Wyoming, and I do think Wyoming is a pretty good team. But kind of recently I've been noticing, maybe Wyoming isn't as good as I thought they were in the Mountain West. There might be teams better than them in the Mountain West, being Colorado State and Boise State and even San Diego State. So we will talk about all those teams later. And San Francisco is my 9 seed. That would be a really fun 8-9 seed matchup there. Both teams playing in a little bit lower conferences, the Mountain West and the West Coast Conference, but both teams kind of having good starts to the year and playing very good basketball this year. So that would be a very fun game to watch, and I'm not sure who would win that game, but it would definitely be really fun. At our 5 seed, they are moving up a little bit. Arkansas is my 5 seed. They went from a 6 to a 5. They beat Tennessee this week, and I think also Mizzou. So they got 2 dubs this week, one being against a ranked team. So Arkansas playing very, very good. They have turned up at the right time. This is the time where you want to turn up, and Arkansas is doing that. So they move up a seed and go to a 5. At the 12 seed, I do have Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago, they're looking a little bit iffy this year. I'm not sure if they are going to be the same tournament crazy team that we've seen the past few years, especially 2018 and even last year. So not sure if this is their year for Loyola Chicago. I think a lot of people will be picking them to get some upsets, but I think this year I think Arkansas would win that matchup if this were the matchup. At our 4 seed, I do have Texas. And Texas has been playing very good, but they did have a loss to Texas Tech this week, so they are staying at a 4 seed. I didn't move them up or down. Losing to Texas Tech, not necessarily a bad loss. Texas Tech is really, really good. Number 13, I do have Montana State winning their conference as a prediction. Our 6 seed is Ohio State, and I'm not so much sure about Ohio State, man. They've been losing a lot recently. At the beginning of the year, they look like they could be, a top seed with EJ Liddell, but recently they're just not looking as good, man. So we'll keep an eye on them. They are definitely a rangy team for me at this point, and week by week they could be moving drastically. So right now I have them as a 6. I think that's a good spot for them, and we'll go from there. So they will be facing an 11 seed. I did have Iowa State as one of my last 4 in last week when they had to play in the play-in game, but this week I did give them a bid because they did go get 2 Big 12 wins, albeit not to the best Big 12 teams, but they did get 2 Big 12 wins, so I am rewarding Iowa State here by moving them up to an 11 seed. At our 3 seed, I do have Nova, and they had, along with Texas Tech, man, Villanova also had a really good week. They beat Providence on the road, a very tough place to play. That was a really fun game, and then they got another Big East win as well. So a good week for Villanova. They move up to a 3 seed for me. At our 14, I do have Wagner as a prediction winning their conference. Our 7 seed, St. Mary's, had a good week as well. They beat San Francisco. and I think that they have Gonzaga coming up again, so that should be a very, very tough matchup for them. We'll see how they can hang with Gonzaga. They lost to him earlier in the year, and they get another crack at him here, so we'll see how they play. At our 10 seed, I do have Xavier. Xavier had a tough week. They had 2 Big East losses, so they moved down. I think I had them as an 8 seed last week, so they moved down 2 seeds. Just 0-2 this week. They could definitely bounce back. They could definitely drop even more. So we'll see how they bounce back from that tough week. At our 2 seed, I do have Kentucky. They had a loss to Tennessee this week. I did have them as my final 1 seed last week, but this week I'm dropping them to a 2. Still a very, very solid team, but I thought that another team was more deserving for that final 1 seed at this point, but they could definitely go up and grab it again next week or the week after. You never know. It's changing every week. That's why I upload these every single Monday. So in our 15 seed, I do have Winthrop winning their conference as a prediction. So let's move on to our 3rd region. We do have the East region, and finally I do have Auburn. They were my top overall seed last week, and they drop here to the 3rd 1 seed. Our 16th seed in this region is Norfolk State. They have a pretty big lead on their conference right now, so we'll see if they can hold on to that and win their conference tourney. At the 8th seed, I do have TCU. They did have a tough week this week. I think that I had them drop 1 seed. I think I had them as a 7 seed last week, so they dropped to an 8. But I do really like this Horned Frogs team. They play in a tough Big 12 conference, and they are battle-tested. They are a solid team, and they hang in there with the best of them, man. So they're going to be a very tough out of 8 seed, in my opinion. At our 9 seed, I do have Colorado State. I think that they got a win and a loss. I think they lost to New Mexico or maybe UNLV. I forget which one it was, but either way, not the best loss, man. But I have them staying put there at a 9, where I had them last week. At our 5 seed in the East region, I do have Alabama. And they had a loss to Kentucky, but in my opinion, that's not a bad loss. Kentucky is a very good team, and Kentucky, a very good team. And Alabama staying put at a 5 seed for me. That's where I had them last week. And at our 12 seed, I do have a play-in game, SMU versus North Carolina. So the winner of that game will get the 12th seed and get the privilege to go against Alabama, who has been heating up recently. Even though they took a loss to Kentucky, they've still been hot recently. So I really wouldn't pick against Bama in that 12-5 if this was the matchup. So at our 4 seed, I do have UCLA, so they jump up. I had them as a 5 seed last week, actually, but they had a good week, went 2-0 this week, and I have them playing a very, very good Ohio team as a 13 seed, but, that's more of a prediction. They got to win their conference. It's a two-headed race, in my opinion, between Ohio and Toledo to win their conference and get that bid to the tourney. At our 6th seed, I do have Michigan State. They had probably one of the hardest weeks in college basketball this week as far as bracketology, because they lost 2 games, and I had them dropping 2 seeds. I had them as a 4 seed last week, and they are a 6 now. So the Sparties are dropping down a little bit. Let's see if they can pick up a few wins this next week. At our 11 seed, I do have Iona. They picked up 2 more dubs. They are taking full control of their conference. We all know they have Rick Pitino, and they look like one of the best of one of those lower conferences that are coming in here. So I gave them an 11 seed. At our 3 seed, I do have Baylor. And Baylor, they lost to Texas Tech this past week, but they still look very, very solid. If they are a healthy team, they are going to be one of the toughest outs in this entire tournament. This is kind of the green region, a lot of green teams, 5 green teams here in this region. But 14 seed, we have Texas State. They are a very, very good team for a 14 seed. They might be the best 14 seed that I have on here, if I remember right. At our 7 seed, I do have Davidson getting the 7 seed. I think I had them as a 7 seed last week as well. They are a very, very solid team. They have a lot of good scores, and they are going to be very dangerous in the tournament. At our 10 seed, I do have Creighton. They are staying put. They had a decent week this week and picking up a couple more Big East wins. They started off very strong, fell off a little bit recently, but maybe they're picking up a little bit now. We'll see how they do here in more following weeks as well. At our 2 seed, we do have the Duke Blue Devils. They picked up a couple of good wins against Wake Forest and another ACC win as well. And our 15 seed, I do have Oakland. That is a very bold prediction by me because I think that they are 3rd or 4th in their conference, but in my opinion, I do think that they are the best team in the Horizon League. So I do have Oakland getting the auto bid for winning their conference, but that is a bold prediction by me, but hey, that's what I'm all about, man. So let's get into our last region, and then I'm going to kind of go back through and tell you who I think maybe would be the most likely to come out of each region, because why not? It'll be fun. Our final 1 seed is Kansas, and they had a really good week this week. They beat my team, West Virginia, on the road, and they also beat, I think, Oklahoma State. So 2 Big 12 wins. Good week for Kansas there, and they beat them both pretty handily, controlled the entire game. So, and the 16 seed would be a play-in game between New Orleans University and Southern University. So that is the 16 seed. At our 8 seed, we do have Seton Hall. They had a decent week this week, I think a win and a loss, so they're staying put there at an 8. At our 9 seed, moving up from an 11 to a 9, I do have San Diego State. They are kind of looking like maybe the best team in the Mountain West at this point, and there are a lot of good teams in the Mountain West, like we talked about earlier. We talked about Colorado State, Wyoming, Boise State, but San Diego State, a lot like maybe Alabama, a couple of these other teams I was talking about, they are peaking at the right time, man, and San Diego State may be peaking and looking like the best team in the Mountain West this year, so I have them moving up to get a 9 seed. Our 5 seed is USC. They moved up from a 6 to a 5. They got a couple good wins against Washington and Washington State this week. Our 12 seed would be a play-in game between Indiana and BYU. Both of them had not the best week, but I think I had both of them as an 11 seed last week, so they both moved down and are kind of my last 4 in. So they're going to have to pick it up a little bit because they're on the bubble for me. At our 4 seed, I do have Houston, and this is a Houston team I am just not too high on, man. I think they don't play in the best conference. Their best competition really is Wichita State. They did beat them in overtime, but, man, I'm just not that high on Houston, man. A team I am high on, this is probably my favorite 13 seed in the entire tournament, is Vermont, and I think Vermont, if they get matched up against Houston, then that would probably be an upset pick for me. I think I would definitely go with Vermont with that matchup. I'm just not too high on Houston, man. So I would definitely go with Vermont. At our 6th seed, we do have Tennessee. They took a loss to Arkansas this week, but they also beat Kentucky, so kind of an up and down week for them. I have them as a 6th seed for now. They could definitely move up to a 5, even a 4. Because they are a little bit rangy right now. A lot of these SEC teams like Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas, and even LSU I see there at a 7, they can move up and down for me. At our 11, I do have Rutgers staying at 11. They were in 11 last week, and this week they are there again. They got a good win at home in the RAC against Illinois, but then they went into Mackey and lost to Purdue, but that is not a bad loss like I talked about earlier. If you're going to lose to a top team, especially on the road, it's not going to affect you too much in my bracketology, especially with how good Rutgers has been playing recently. They are another one of those teams. They're peaking at the right time. They are an 11 again this week, just like last week. They could definitely move up a couple seeds for me, though. At our 3 seed, I do have Providence. They moved down from a 2 to a 3. They are a lower seed for me than Villanova. They are both 3 seeds, but they are both. I have Villanova as the higher 3 seed in my opinion, just because they did beat Providence this week, and that was a very good game. I do think that both of these teams are really good, and both will play amazing in the tournament, though. So I do have Providence still here at a 3 seed, only dropping 1 seed. At our 14 seed, I do have New Mexico State as a prediction winning their conference. At our 7 seed, I do have LSU. I think they lost a bad game this week, but they also won a game. So iffy week for LSU. We'll see what they do this next week, but I have them as a 7 for now. At our 10 seed, I do have Notre Dame. They took a loss to Wake Forest this week, so that was a very good win for Wake Forest, kind of how I had them as a 9 seed this week, because Wake Forest kind of showing me, okay, they're picking up those wins. So Notre Dame drops down to a 10 seed. I think I actually had Wake Forest take Notre Dame's spot from last week because Notre Dame was a 9. So I do have Notre Dame dropping to a 10 now. At our 2 seed for this region, I do have Purdue, and Purdue's been playing very good basketball here recently. Of course, they've been playing good basketball all year long, and they can definitely be one of those teams that could snag a 1 seed by the end of the year. We'll just have to see how it all goes down. And finally, my 15 seed for the South region, I do have Navy making it and winning their conference as a prediction. So that is my bracketology. I'm going to kind of go through and tell you guys my favorites to come out of each region. So we'll go ahead and just start in this region. Obviously, Kansas, very, very good, but I think my favorite to come out of this region would probably be Purdue. I really like this Purdue team. Kansas is good, but I just have a good feeling about Purdue. As far as upsets for this region, I think I would definitely pick Vermont over Houston. I do think Vermont would win that game. I like Vermont a lot, and like I said before, I'm just not too high on this Houston team, man. I do like San Diego State as a 9 seed over Seton Hall, but I just don't know if they could beat Kansas, man. But San Diego State is definitely peaking at the right time. I do like them in that first matchup, and I think it would be a good game against Kansas. I just don't think they could get it done. Also, I like Rutgers. They are peaking at the right time. I think Tennessee is a tough matchup, man. I think that one would go down to the wire. So those are some of my favorite matchups from the South region. In the East region, obviously I like Auburn to come out, man, but Duke is good as well. Our 3 seed is Baylor. That is a tough out. This is the green region, man. A lot of green teams. As far as upsets, again, the 13 over the 4 looks really good for me, but I think UCLA is going to pull that one out because UCLA, they'll turn up during tournament time. They usually do, so I would probably still pick UCLA, but again, Ohio, very, very tough 13 seed there. I like Davidson a lot. Davidson is definitely going to do some good work in the tournament, so that is another team that I would like. I do like TCU as well. I think they'd win that first matchup. I just think they get a tough draw. They're going to have to get up a couple seeds because I don't like them against Auburn, but I do like them to win that first matchup. But I do like TCU in this region. I do like Davidson in this region. Of course, I like Auburn, Duke, and Baylor. They are really, really solid. Oh, I do like Iona beating Michigan State. I think that would be a 11 over 6 upset in this region. All right, our next region. Oh, skipped one. My bad. Arizona. I've had changed opinions about Arizona, man. I think that they would be very, very tough out this year, and they look like one of the best teams again for me. So I think that would be my favorite. Or Kentucky. Arizona and Kentucky. That is a tough 1-2 region, man. And as far as upsets for this region, man, this is a tough one. Iowa State maybe over Ohio State. I mean, I'm not too high on Ohio State right now just because they haven't shown me too much. But that would probably be the upset I would go with, is the 11 over the 6 again. Now let's move on over to our final region, the West region. And I like Illinois a lot this year. I think that Plummer, if he gets going, and Coburn, that is a tough one. And I do like Texas Tech as well. I might like Illinois and Texas Tech more than Gonzaga at this point. It's going to be a tough one, though, man. They are all going to be very, very tough outs. And as far as upsets, I really like this Chattanooga team. I don't know if they could beat Wisconsin as a 14 over 3. That would be crazy. but I do really like this Chattanooga team. So look out for them come tournament time. If they get a 12 seed or something, they could be very, very dangerous. And yeah, man, that is going to do it for our Bracketology 2.0. And we do these every single Monday. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new. We're getting really close to 1,000. Help your boy out. And yeah, it's been your boy Danny. I'm out.